So this is chapter 7, the last chapter. We made it. You guys survived. This chapter is percents. And the first lesson is percents, fractions, and decimals. So there are a few concepts in this lesson that we're going to be doing, starting off with defining a percent. And then the remaining part of the lesson is converting. We're going to convert percents to fractions, percents to decimals, and then fractions and decimals to percents. You're just going to be converting back and forth. Let's start by defining a percent. A percent means per 100. So you know how to write a percent. It's the number and the percent sign, and you would say 45%. But it's important to know what that percent means. So here's an example from the book, The Continent of South America. Right? By looking at this, it's hard to give a percent on what area is rainforest, which is the green, and what area is not rainforest, which is the brown. But if we divide this up into 100 squares and make it out of a percent, it's a little easier to see. So now, by putting it into 100 little squares, what percent is rainforest? Well, you would count the little green boxes, which ends up being 45. So 45 out of 100 is rainforest. So that's why it's 45%. There are 55 brown boxes. So since there are 55 out of 100, 55% would be not rainforest. Right? So a percent is always out of 100. So now to convert, that is why we use hundreds. So to convert a percent to a fraction, there's a couple things you can do. It says replace the symbol, the percent symbol, by 1 over 100. And why it's 1 over 100 is because, like I showed you, a percent is always out of 100. So that's where the 100 comes from. So what the instructions are saying is that we take our 56, we drop the percent symbol, and we multiply by 1 over 100. Right? So to keep it a little easier and line it up, we could put this over 1 because it's a whole number. And then we multiply straight across and we get 56 over 100. Right? Then it's important to make sure that you reduce. So divided by 4 and we get 14 over 25. The other way to do it is, since a percent is always out of 100, 56, just put it right over 100 from the start. You can reduce and you get 14 over 25. And that's an easy method when you just have a straight up percent, like 56. When you get decimals as a percent and fractions, it's a little harder to use this method right here. But let's do the next one. All right, so 125 times 1 over 100. Put this over 1, and we get 125 over 100. We can't leave it as that. So 100 could go into 125. Down. Oh, we don't bring it down. I apologize. We keep it as a remainder. So we have 1 and 25 over 100. If you divide by 25, we reduce and you get 1 and 1/4. Now the other way to do that in the blue would be to just put that right over 100. And then you would divide and you would get 1 and 1. All right, now for C, we have 0.4%. So you have 4/10 as your percent this time. So we would drop the percent and leave the fraction. So 4/10. And we would do times 1 over 100. This is different than the others because this was 56 over 1, 125 over 1, but this is an actual fraction, 4/10. 4/10. Then 4 over 1,000, which can reduce, and you would get 1 over 120. Now, if you were going to do this the so-called shortcut easy way, you would have 0.4 over 100. You would have to remove the decimal by moving it over once, and you would have to do the same thing with the denominator. So the decimal's here, so you'd move this over once, and you have to add a 0 where the loop is. You would get 4 over 1,000, which reduces, you get the same thing we got here. Now, whenever you have a mixed number as your percent, when percent is a mixed number, you have to turn it into a, you have to turn it into an improper. Okay, so when percent is a mixed number, you must turn it into an improper first before you can go any further. The pen that I'm using is really bad, I apologize. You must turn it into an improper first. So how we would do this, 66 times 3. 66 times 3 is 198. Then you do 198 plus 2 is 198 plus 2 is 200. So we would get 200 over 3 times 1 over 100. Right, so we changed our mixed number to an improper fraction. We drop the percent symbol, so we get 200 over 3, and we do times 1 over 100 like we've been doing. We would get 200 over 300, which can reduce by 100, and you would get 2. And that's really the easiest way. I'm not going to do it another way. It's just important that you just know this way. All right. Try some more. All right, write each percent as a fraction. So we can go 42 over 100, and then it can reduce. We get 21 over 50. And then you can also do 42 over 1 times 1 over 100. Get the same. Okay, here we have 137 over 100. And you're going to get 1 and 37 over 100. Or you can also do 137 over 1 times 1 over 100, and you get the same thing. 0.2%, 2/10 times 1 over 100 is going to give us 2 over 1,000, which reduces, we divide by 2, 1/5. Or, sorry, 1/500. And then the other way, if you wanted to do it, it would be 0.2 over 100. Move this over once. Move this over once. 2 over 1,000, which reduces. All right, 33 1/3. We have a mixed number here, so we got to change it to an improper. 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 is going to be 100 over 3, and 1 over 100. We get 100 over 300. We can reduce by 100, and we get 1/3. And 0.6%, we would get 6 over 10 times 1 over 100, 6 over 1,000, which reduces to 3/500. Or you can go 0.6 over 100. Right. 6 over 1,000. Right, moving on. Now we want to convert percents to decimals, right? Now the rule, it says replace the percent symbol by timesing by 0.01. So you're going to times by 100th. Right? This is equivalent to times 1 over 100 and divided by 100. Then it also says multiplying a decimal by 0.01 is the same as moving it 2 points to the left. And that's what's going to be key here. So whenever you have a percent and you're turning it into a decimal, the trick is you just move it 2 places to the left. So right now we have 31, right? Our decimal's here. We're going to go 1, 2. So 0.31 is our answer. That's a lot easier than doing, what this is telling you to do is remove the percent symbol and times by 0.01. Okay, so let's do that. 0.01 times 31. We're going to get 1, 0, 0. And 3 times 1 is 3, 0, 0. We add them. And then we count up our decimal places, 1, 2. So we're going to go 1, 2. And we get 0.31, which is exactly what we got originally. And it's a lot easier. So again, the trick is you're going to move 2 to the left. So if we have 6.5, we go 1, 2. We have to add a 0 because there's a blank loopy. It's going to be 0.065. Okay. Or the other way to do it is we take 6.5 times 0.01. So I'm going to just rewrite it. Zero 0.01 times 6.5, 5, 0, 0, 6, 0, 0. Add, and we count up the decimal points. This time there's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's exactly what we got as our answer in the first place. All right, let's look here. 428. So for 428, our decimal's here. We're going to go 1, 2. So 4.28. And again, that's a lot easier than having to multiply 428 times 0.01. I won't even do it. So for D, we have a fraction, right? So first thing we want to do is turn that into Well, there's two things you can do. We can leave it, 1 is the whole number, and then we can divide 5 and 3 to get the decimal. And it would be 0.6. So the answer would be 1.6%. Or you can turn this into an improper. So 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is going to give you 8/5. And then you can divide. Let me get more room. So the one way that I just showed you, once we get that, then you can go 1. We had 1.6%. And once you get that, you can go 1, 2. And our answer would be 0.016. That's the one way. Another way to do it, like I just said, is to turn it into an improper. So we'd have 8/5 and then divide. 5 can go into 8 one time. Add a decimal, add a 0. 5 can go into 36 times. So we just got 1.6, which is, but it's still a percent because all we did was take this mixed number and turn it into an improper. We didn't convert anything. So technically, once we made it a decimal, it was still a percent. Now we go 1, 2, and we got the same thing we got originally. Those are the two ways that you can do it. And again, the two ways were, the first time was I kept the 1, the whole number, and I divided the 3 and the 5 to get the decimal. The second way was turn it into an improper first and then divide. And then for E, we have 0.05. So you would go 1, 2, 3, add 2. No. All right, so here are a couple more problems to practice. All right, so now you're going to convert each percent to its decimal, just like we did. So 0.47, if you move it to 1, 2, maybe. So here it's here, so 1, 2. So 5 3/4, this is what I was saying before. You can keep 5 the whole number and then divide 3/4 to get the decimal, which would be 5.75%, because it's still a percent. And then you would have to go 1, 2, and it would be 0.0575. Or you can turn it into a improper from the beginning. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 would be 23. You can divide it. We get 5.75. And it would go to the left, 1, 2. And we would get 0.0575, just like we did the first time. Okay, so either way is appropriate. Here we have 0.087. If we go to the left, now going to have So for this one, I'm going to convert it into an improper first. So 8 times 5 is 40 plus 2. Now I'm going to divide it. So you get 8.4, and then to the left, you would get 0.08. The other way to do it, the other way to do it would be, so 8 would be your whole number, and then you would divide the 2/5, which would be 8.4, and then you have to go to the left, and you would get 0.084, which is exactly what we got. And then for this one, to the left, and you would get 0.0006. All right, students tend to find this conversion easier than some of the others. So here they are side by side, right? If you need to reference how to do them when you're given the task of them when they're next to each other. This side on the left is converting percents to fractions, and then the right is percent to decimal. So let's see, for number 2, how to convert it to a fraction, if you remember, 55 over 100, because it's always out of 100. You can reduce, divide by 5, and you get 11 over 20. Okay, so for number 3, you have 175 over 100, and I can divide. And I get 175 over 100. I can divide by 25. And I'm going to get 1 3/4. And if you don't remember, the other way to do this is if you were to go 55 over 1 times 1 over 100, the long way. And for number 4, okay, we have 0.06%. So that's 6/100. So that's 6 over 100 times 1 over 100, which is 6/10,000, which reduces, divide by 2, and it's 3 over 5. And then the blue way with this problem would be 0.6 over 100. This has to go to the right, and this would go to the right. You'd get 6 over 1, 2. 6 over 10,000, which is what we got here. All right, then on this side, convert to a decimal for 8. We would just go to the left, which would be 0.67. The other way would be if you did 0.01 times 67. 700 600, and there are 1, 2 decimals, so you'd get 0.7. Right, the red's definitely easier. For number 9, to the left, 0.086. Number 10, 3.21. Number 11, 6.25%, and then to the left, 0.0625. And number 12, 0.007, 007. Any questions? Let me know. And on the next page, pause the video. I would check your work. I'm going to put the answers up. And if you have questions, email me and let me know. All right, some more. Pause the video and check your answers. For these, you're changing the percent to a decimal. Sorry about that. All right, so we converted percents to decimals and percents to fractions. Now we're going to convert fractions and decimals to percents. Okay. So it says if you look up here, multiplying a decimal by 100 means moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. For this example here, if you move it 2 to the right, we get 62%. Well, that's the same as if you were to multiply the fraction by 100. So, for example, 100% times 0.62 times 100. So I would get 0, 0, 0. And I get 0, 0, 0. And then I would get 2, 6, 0. Add. And then I need to count my decimal points. So 1, 1, 2. And I would go 1, 2. My answer would be 62, which is exactly what I got. So it's a lot easier to do the first method where you just move it 2 to the right. So for B, if we move it 2 to the right, we get 175%. Boom. Whereas if we have to do it the other way, you would get 175, 1.75 times 100. So we get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 7, 1. Get 0, 0, 5, 7, 1. And then we count how many decimals. So there's 1, 2. So I'd go 1, 2, and it would be 175, which is exactly what I got. All right, so the trick does work. It's a lot easier. For this one, our decimal is here. So 1, 2 would be 100%. And the blue is easy for that one. 100 times 1. Right here, even though it's a decimal, like a really small decimal, you still just move it 2 to the right. And even though it doesn't become a whole number like A, B, and C, like 62%, 175%, it's still correct. So we would get 0.4 for D. And for this one, 1, 2, 890. And I don't have to keep showing you how to do the blue. It'll be your decision which method you want to use. But for this one, get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4, 0, 0, 0. And we have 1, 2, 3 decimals. So 1, 2, 3. And 0.4. I have a few more examples. So convert this fraction to percent. So now we're going from converting fractions and decimals to percents. So now taking this fraction and putting it into a percent. Right, so here, these were decimals to percents. Easy, move it 2 to the right. Now we're going to turn fractions into percents. So we're really just adding one little step to it. So for example, 3/5, 3/5 times 100 over 1, and you would get 60%. There's an easier way to do it. Okay? Rather than doing 3/5 timesing all this, you can simply just divide, like in this example over here. 5 divided by 3 gives you 0.6, and then move the decimal 2 places to the right, like you learned how to do with decimals. That is the easier way to do this. If you had 2/3, you would do 2/3 times 100 over 1, multiply across, and then reduce. Or the easy way to do it would be just divide 2/3, and you would get 0.6 repeating. Move the decimal over 2 to the right, and you would get 66.6 repeating percent. Okay, so it's up to you which method you want to use, but this is the easiest. So here's some examples to try. I'll do both methods with you. So for 9/20, you could do, and if you look up here, it says multiplying the fraction or decimal by 100% is the same as moving it 2 places to the right. So 9/20. Right? What they were saying to do before was do 9/20 times 100 over 1, because that's what a fraction. 20 divided by 20 one time, 100 divided by 20 5 times. You're going to get 45%. Now, the easier way to do it that I was showing before is to just divide 20 into 9. 20 cannot go to 9, but it can go to 90 4 times. That is 0. And I get 0.45, which is a decimal, but we just learned how to turn decimals into percents. You go 1, 2, 45%. So I think the blue is a little easier, but it's up to you. So for 4/25, 4/25 times 100 over 1. 0.51. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So you get 16%. Okay, or 25 into 4. And you get 0.16 and then 60%. So 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1, 16 over 5. Oops. So 16 over 5 times 100 over 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 100 divided by 5 is 20. And 16 times 20 is going to give you 320%. Or if you did it the other way, this would be 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16. 5. You get 3.2. And since that's a decimal, you move it 2 to the right. You get 320%. Okay, for 5, 6. Divided by 2 is 3. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So 250 over 3. So this would be 83.3 repeating percent. 4 ninths. This is how you would set this one up, but I'm just going to do this one the other way just to get both ways. This is 0.444 repeating. Move it to the right, and we're going to get 44 or 4 repeating. Right over here, I'll do the blue way. This is going to be 0.7777 repeating. This is going to be 77.7 repeating. And I'll do this one in the red way. So 7 over 50 times 100 over 1. 50 divided by 50 is 1. 100 divided by 50 is 2. The last one would be 14. All right, here they are side by side. For 13, convert each decimal to its percent form. So you can multiply by 100. 100 times 0. So 0.46 times 100. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 6, 4, 0. And it's 2 decimal places, so 1, 2. So it would be 46.00. Or if you just move it 2 to the right, 46%. So it's a lot easier just to move it 2 to the right. So for 14, 2 to the right, 325%. 15, 2 to the right, 200%. For 16, 2 to the right, 1, 2, be 0.06%. And for 17, 2 to the right, 1, 2, 250. And for 18, convert the fraction to percent. So you could do, let's see, 10 divided by 7, 7. Right, so we get 0.7. Now that's a decimal, so percent would be 70%. Or the other way to do it would be, I guess that's probably the easiest way. You could always do what you just learned times 100 over 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 100 divided by 10 is 10. Then this would give you 70% as well. So those are the both ways. So here's some for you to try. All right, pause the video and I will put the answers up. Okay, those are the answers. Email me if you need help with any of them. So these are fractions, decimals, and percents that you should know. They're the mental math, the easiest, and that most adults know. They're most common. So if you look, it's percents and then their fraction and decimal equivalents, 100%, 50%, 25%, 75%, and 10%. The 25, 50, 75 all make up 100, like a dollar. You can look at it like quarters. And then the 10% is 10%. And so it's important to know these. I would try to memorize them if you already don't know them. And the last thing we're going to do, this has been a really long lesson, is to convert when you're given one, find the other two. And I put this little chart over here to help you. To go from fractions to decimals, divide numerator by denominator. To go back and forth between decimals and percents, multiply by 100 or divide by 100. And to go from percents to fractions, put percentage over a denominator of 100 and simplify. So let's look at this first row. The fraction is 1 over 40. So what would the decimal and what would the percent be? It's however you want to tackle it that would help you. For this one, I'll call this letter A. To figure out the decimal, I would divide. I'd go 40, not go into 1. And I would add a 0. It cannot go into 10. I would add another 0. It can go into 100. 2 times. Subtract. Add another 0. So the decimal, that would be 200. The decimal is 0.025. Once you know the decimal, you can find the percent. 1, 2. So 2.5%. So once you have one, you can find the others. Let's look at B. All right, so they're giving us 3.6 as our decimal. So from there, we can get a percent. 1, 2, 360%. And we can definitely also get a decimal. You can tackle it however you want. You want to take the percent or the decimal. I think it's easier to go decimal. It's 3 is your whole number and 6/10. Reduce. It would be 3 and 3. And for the last one, I'll call that C. They're giving us 0.7%. So they're giving us percent. So to go from a percent to a decimal, we go 2 to the left. So 1, 2. It would be 0.007. And then to figure out what the fraction is from that, we could do a couple things. If you take the decimal and look, it's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So the fraction could be 7 over 1,000. Or another way to do it is, if you remember, we took the percent, which would be 7 over 10 times 1 over 100. That would be 7 over 1,000 as well. So you can find out both. If you just have the decimal, you can get this. And if you just have the percent, you can get this. Either are correct. Okay. So this is just to show you that if you have one conversion, that you can find the others. And you can use whatever method you're comfortable with. All right, here's another chart for you. So for A, they're giving us the decimal. Percent is going to be easy. That's going to be 55%. Just move the decimal 2 to the right. And the fraction is also going to be easy. It's 55 hundredths. So it's going to be 55 over 100, which reduces to 11 over 200, or 20. All right, for B, they're giving us 1 over 200, but nothing else. So to find our decimal, we need to divide. Zero, add another 0, still can't go into that. But if we add another 0, then we get 5, and that's going to be 1,000. All right, so we just found our decimal, which is going to be 0.005. And since that's our decimal, we can find the percent by going 1, 2, 0.5%. All right, for C, they're giving us the percent, so we can find the decimal by going to the left. And this is like a problem we did right before this. It's 1 is the whole number, and then 6/10. And then if you reduce by 2, you get 1 and 3. One and 3/5. For D, they're giving us the decimal, which is 2.4. So if I move it 2 to the right, I'll get my percent, which is 240%. And then to find my fraction, there's a couple things you can do. You can do 240 over 100 and divide it. And how did I get this? Well, it's 240%. A percent is always over 100. And then this would be 200. The 2 and 40/100ths. And you get 2 and 2/5. So if you didn't do this, so what I did was I took the percent, put it over 100 divided. You could have also looked at the decimal, which was 2.4, and saw that that was a whole number of 2 and 4/10, which reduces by 2. And you would have gotten 2 and 2/5. All right, for letter E, they're giving us 66 2/3%. We need to figure out the decimal and the fraction. So for E, let's turn it into an improper. 66 times 3 is 198, plus 2 is 200, 200 over 3. And once we do that, 200 over 3, I'm going to do times 1 over 100. So I get 200 over 300. And when I reduce, I get 2/3. And now that I have my fraction is 2/3, I can divide 3 into 20. 3 can go into, 3 can't go into 2, but it can go into 20 times. So that's going to be 0.666 repeating. So the decimal is going to be 0.6 repeating. And for F, 2/9. All right, 2/9 as a decimal. Use a different color. So here's F. I'm going to do 9 into 2. 0, 9 going to 22 times. That's 18. 2, down. That's going to be 0.22222 repeating. And the percent is going to be 22.2. 22 repeating percent. And I think I said a few chapters back, you always know something's repeating if it's over 9. So this would be 2 repeating. All right, another example for you. All right, so fraction for 25. They're giving us 1.41, so percent would be 141% because I'm going 2 to the right. And a fraction would be 1 and 41. 1 and 41 100ths. 1 over 50. Right, so to find the decimal, or to even find the percent, if you remember to find the percent, we could do 1 over 50 times, was it 100 over 1? And then 100 divided by 50 is 2, so it would be 2%. And if it's 2% as a percent, then we would go 1, 2, and it would be 0.02. Now, if you didn't know you could find percent by doing times 100 over 1, you could have just done 50 divided by, would have been 0, add another 0. You would have gotten 0.02, which you would have filled into the decimal, and then gone 2 to the right and gotten 2%. There's all different ways to convert, whatever you're comfortable with. 27, they're giving you 18%, so we know that's 0.18 as a decimal, and that would be 18 hundredths, but we can reduce, would be 9 50ths. All right, 28. They're giving us 0.58, which would be 58%. And then that would be 58 hundredths, or 58 over 100, which can reduce, divided by 2. And you would get 29 over. All right, 29, we have 33 and a third percent. We need to find out what that is as a decimal and a fraction. Now, it's not already a fraction. It's not going to be 33 and a third as a fraction because it is 33 and a third percent, right? That's different. So for 29, to turn it into a decimal, we know that 33 is going to be our whole number, so we need to divide 1/3, or we could turn it into an improper. 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 is going to be 100 over 3. Let me simplify. And you're just going to keep getting 3. So to turn that into a decimal, we're going to go 2 to the left, 1, 2, and we're going to get 0.333 repeating. Okay, and then that as a fraction would be so it's repeating. So it would be 33 over 99, which equals 33 would be 11 over 33 divided by 11 would be 1/3. And how did I know it was 33 over 99? Because this decimal is repeating. You could also do 3/9 because it was repeating instead of 33 over 99. You could do 3/9 also. Or you could take this fraction that we made, 100 over 3, and 100 over 3 times 1 over 100. And we would have gotten 100 over 300, which equals 1/3. That's also how you can figure out a percent to a fraction. So 3 ways. We know that it's repeating, so it goes over 9. You could do the times 1 over 100, or you could divide. And for 30, 7/9, since they want us to figure out a decimal, I know it's over 9. It's going to be 0.7777 repeating. So as a percent, it's going to be 77.7%. All right, on the next slide, I have examples for you to try. You could just pause it. I'm going to fill in the answers. You can check them. That's a 9. And over here, all right, check your answers. And for more practice, page 420, starting at 13, different sections, 13 through 27, 31 through 37, and 43 through 61. Odds, and practice these. They will be on the next test.